The wrestling world is in absolute shock, and the aftershocks of SummerSlam 2025 may be the most destructive ripple effect WWE has seen in a decade. The main event ended in chaos, Seth Rollins bloodied, the championship picture shattered, and a sight that nobody thought they'd ever see again: Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar standing side by side. Not as enemies, not as reluctant allies, but as architects of something sinister. The rumors are true. The footage confirms it. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar have united to create a new Shield, and their mission is clear: destroy Seth Rollins once and for all. The seeds of this betrayal were planted months ago, but no one expected it to blossom in such violent fashion. For years, Seth Rollins had carried the torch as World Heavyweight Champion, standing tall as WWE's workhorse, the man who took on every challenger and never backed down. He was the face that carried Monday Night Raw through turbulence, injuries, and constant backstage shake. He was the counterbalance to Roman Reigns' tribal chief dominance on SmackDown. Fans believed that when the two finally clashed again, it would be another chapter in one of the greatest rivalries of all time. But instead of a rivalry, we now have a war. At SummerSlam, the chaos erupted in the aftermath of Rollins' title defense. Rollins, battered and exhausted, had barely raised the belt in triumph when Roman's music hit. The arena fell into stunned silence. The tribal chief had not been seen since losing his undisputed championship earlier in the year. He was thought to be taking time off, regrouping after years of dominance. Yet here he was, marching to the ring with that familiar aura of invincibility. Rollins, though wary, stood tall, refusing to back down. And then came the second shock. The sound of Brock Lesnar's music hit. The Beast incarnate, the man who had spent the last decade locked in brutal wars against Roman Reigns, now walked with a calm, calculated presence. No pyro, no showboating, just a cold stare as he approached the ring. Fans expected fireworks, fists, and carnage between Roman and Brock. But instead, something even more terrifying happened. Roman extended his fist. Brock hesitated for only a moment, then smirked and bumped it. That single gesture sent a chill through the entire industry. Two of the most dominant forces in wrestling history had just declared an alliance, and their first target stood in the ring, clutching the World Heavyweight Championship like a man holding onto the last shield between himself and certain destruction. The assault that followed was not a fight, it was an execution. Roman and Brock dismantled Seth Rollins with precision. Superman punches, German suplexes, spears, F5s. Rollins was tossed around like a ragdoll, each move executed with calculated cruelty. The message was clear: the new Shield wasn't here to play games. They weren't here to entertain. They were here to destroy. And the symbolism didn't stop there. After Rollins lay broken in the center of the ring, Roman and Brock dragged his limp body to the corner. Roman reached into the timekeeper's area, pulling out black tactical vests. The same kind of gear that defined the original Shield a decade ago. Roman handed one to Brock, who slipped it on with a sinister grin. Together, they stood over Rollins, fists raised in unison, as if to declare the rebirth of something darker, something stronger, something unstoppable. The crowd erupted, not in cheers, but in a mixture of boos, shock, and disbelief. The Shield was once the most dominant faction in WWE history, but its soul had always been tied to three men: Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose. With Ambrose long gone and Rollins left for dead, this new Shield spits in the face of that legacy. Roman and Brock are rewriting history, twisting the memory of the faction into a weapon designed to torment the very man who once stood beside them. Why Rollins? Why now? The answer lies in pride, legacy, and revenge. Roman Reigns has never forgiven Rollins for betraying the Shield all those years ago, the infamous chair shot that broke their brotherhood. That scar has never healed. For Roman, this new alliance is poetic justice, forcing Rollins to relieve betrayal, only this time as the victim. For Brock Lesnar, the motive is different but no less dangerous. Brock has always despised Seth Rollins for cashing in at WrestleMania 31, stealing a victory that Brock felt was his. To Brock, Rollins is the opportunist who tainted his dominance. Aligning with Roman gives him the perfect chance to finally end Rollins' career and erase that stain from his legacy. Together, Roman and Brock are rewriting the rules of dominance in WWE. This isn't about championships anymore. This is about erasure. They don't want to beat Seth Rollins. They want to annihilate him, to erase his name from the history books, to make him an example for anyone who dares to challenge their supremacy. The locker room is shaken. Superstars are reportedly terrified of what this alliance means. Two of the most physically dominant wrestlers in history, united under a single cause, backed by the imagery and intimidation of the Shield. It's a nightmare scenario for everyone on the roster. How do you prepare for Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar as a team? How do you stop them when history has proven that most men can't even stop them individually? Nick Aldis, once again at the center of chaos, was forced to address the situation in the post-show press conference. His words were measured, but the concern in his eyes was undeniable. What we saw tonight was not sanctioned. What we saw was not planned. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar have taken matters into their own hands, and it is my responsibility to ensure this company doesn't fall into chaos because of it. But how much control does Aldis truly have when the two most unstoppable forces in WWE have decided to tear through the roster? Rollins, for his part, was stretchered out of the arena. Reports indicate that he suffered cracked ribs, internal bruising, and a possible concussion. Yet, even as he was loaded into the ambulance, he was said to be screaming through the pain, "I'm not done. You can't kill me." Those words may fuel the fire of what's coming, but for now, Rollins is sidelined, and WWE has a monster-sized problem on their hands. The fanbase is divided. Some are excited to see Roman and Brock together, a pairing that feels like an unstoppable cheat code. Others are disgusted, seeing it as a desecration of the Shield's legacy and a cheap attempt to reignite past glory at Rollins' expense. But whether you love it or hate it, one thing is undeniable: everyone is talking about it. The creation of this new Shield has instantly become the biggest story in wrestling. And make no mistake, this isn't the Shield of old. The brotherhood is gone. The loyalty is gone. What Roman and Brock have created is a weapon of mass destruction, forged from betrayal and fueled by vengeance. They don't care about justice. They don't care about honor. They care about domination, and Seth Rollins is the first casualty in their path. As we look ahead, the possibilities are terrifying. Will Roman and Brock recruit others to this new Shield? Is there a third man waiting in the wings to complete the trio? Or is this alliance between two monsters strong enough to function as is, leaving destruction in their wake wherever they go? WWE has not confirmed, but whispers backstage suggest that younger stars may be tempted by the promise of power, drawn into this dark rebirth of a faction that once ruled the industry. For Seth Rollins, the road ahead is clear but dangerous. If he recovers, he will not just be fighting for his championship or even for his career. He will be fighting to defend the very soul of the Shield's legacy. He was once the architect, the man who built the faction brick by brick. Now he must watch as Roman and Brock tear down his creation and rebuild it into something twisted. The emotional weight of this war may break him before the physical damage does. The fallout from this alliance is bigger than anything WWE has attempted in years, because it's not just about Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar getting revenge on Seth Rollins. This is about them rewriting history, rewriting what the Shield stood for, and rewriting the future of the entire WWE landscape. Every match, every title defense, every feud suddenly feels irrelevant when you know that two of the most dominant forces in wrestling history are standing side by side with a clear mission to erase Seth Rollins. And let's not kid ourselves here, this isn't some random storyline that will fade away in a few weeks. This has layers. This has blood. This has betrayal. This has history. Seth Rollins turning his back on the Shield years ago created the most shocking moment of the PG era, and it set in motion Roman and Seth's long-term rivalry. Brock Lesnar's animosity toward Rollins stretches back almost a decade, from WrestleMania 31's heist of the century to countless championship matches where Seth found ways to outsmart him. Both men feel they were wronged by Rollins in different eras, in different ways, and now they're combining forces to ensure that payback isn't just given its absolute. The Shield was built on brotherhood, loyalty, and dominance. But this new Shield is built on hate, revenge, and destruction. Imagine the symbolism, the black tactical gear, the triple powerbombs, the dominance over the roster. Only now, instead of Ambrose and Rollins flanking Roman, you have Brock Lesnar, one of the most dangerous men in WWE history. This isn't nostalgia, this is warfare. And it's warfare with a clear target. At SummerSlam, after Seth Rollins survived a brutal match against Cody Rhodes, Roman and Brock made their shocking entrance together. Fans expected Roman to return alone, but when Brock's music hit and the two stood side by side, the arena didn't know whether to cheer, boo, or just sit in stunned silence. What happened next? A new definition of chaos. The two men decimated Rollins. Superman punch, F5, brutal chair shots, and finally a triple powerbomb that left Rollins lifeless in the middle of the ring. The visual was haunting, the same move that defined the original Shield now being used as the ultimate weapon of betrayal. But the story doesn't end there. Reports backstage suggest that Roman and Brock are recruiting. The question is, who else could they bring into this new Shield? There are whispers about younger stars like Bron Breakker, Solo Sikoa fully pledging himself to this alliance, or even shocking returns from past stars who align with their destructive vision. The key is, this isn't a two-man army forever. Roman and Brock are strategists in their own way, Roman with his manipulation, Brock with his brute intimidation. Together, they can rebuild the Shield into something darker, stronger, and more dangerous than ever before. Meanwhile, Seth Rollins is at a crossroads. His career has been defined by reinvention, by overcoming impossible odds, and by thriving under pressure. But can even Seth survive this? Facing Roman alone is one thing. Facing Brock alone is another. But facing Roman and Brock together, under the banner of the same faction that Rollins himself betrayed? That's a nightmare scenario. Seth has allies, sure. Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, these are names who could stand with him. But the reality is, nobody wants to be caught in the crossfire of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Aligning with Rollins means painting a target on your back. And history shows that when Lesnar and Reigns set their sights on you, careers get shortened. The wider implications for WWE are staggering. What happens to the World Heavyweight Championship picture if Rollins is taken out of the equation? What happens to the Bloodline saga if Roman is now shifting focus to building a new empire with Lesnar? What happens to the locker room morale when two monsters walk into the building together, destroying everything in their path? WWE thrives on chaos, but this level of chaos could dismantle the very foundation of the company. And let's not ignore the fanbase reaction. The Shield is one of the most beloved factions in WWE history. Fans grew up chanting their names, buying their merch, and remembering those iconic six-man tag team wars. To see Roman and Brock weaponize the Shield's legacy in order to annihilate Rollins feels like the ultimate slap in the face. It's disrespectful, it's painful, and it's exactly why people can't stop talking about it. WWE knew this would ignite outrage, and outrage fuels conversation, and conversation fuels ratings. Like it or not, this was brilliant. But what's next? The next few months will define whether this new Shield is a short-lived alliance or the most dominant faction of the modern era. Survivor Series could see Roman, Brock, and whoever else they recruit stand tall against Rollins and a team of desperate allies. WrestleMania 42 could culminate in the final battle between Rollins and this new empire. Or perhaps this alliance self-destructs under the weight of its own egos because let's be honest, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar aren't exactly known for playing well with others. How long before Lesnar gets tired of taking orders? How long before Roman realizes that he can't control the beast? The seeds of implosion are already there, and fans will be watching every single week to see who cracks first. But until that happens, one thing is clear: Seth Rollins is the hunted man in WWE. Every time his music hits, fans will wonder if Roman and Brock are lurking. Every promo he cuts will be interrupted by the looming shadow of this alliance. Every title defense will feel secondary to the larger war being waged against him. Rollins has been called the architect, the visionary, the messiah, but this time, he might need to become the survivor. And so, as WWE marches into this new era post-SummerSlam 2025, the entire wrestling world is left asking one chilling question: if Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar can create a new Shield, what can possibly stop them? And if Seth Rollins can't, then maybe nothing can.